Good morning. Do you do your savers technique? Do you meditate? Do you have silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, scribing? Do you have a good weekend? F1 weekend. Today's October 22nd, Tuesday. Oh, nothing captures a painting quite like a sunrise. I'm going to make you rich. YouTube subscriber number 4. Yeah, because we're going to talk about 5 different ways that we can connect. F1 weekend. All weekend, it's the same weekend as the last year's F1 in Austin. It's similar to the F1 in Singapore. And so we can connect by winning weekends. We can connect by winning in our PQRST, our prep. And speaking of PQRST, preview question, read, summarize, test. The sunrise is very pretty and also very distracting. It's like talking with 7 women and you've got to pick 4 to be in your 5-way. Like, it's distracting, but I'm focused. Why? Because we'll just jump into search fund. Went to a party. Christian Robinson, thank you. Rich, thank you. Will Fry, thank you. Evan, thank you. Cameron, also, thank you for hosting. And my first friend, Alex. How'd I hear about the party? Irv Grosbeck's concept, Search Fund, is on my Gmail alerts. You guys at MainShares, you did Search Entrepreneur. My first friend was Alex, very welcoming. I don't think he was anticipating me coming in, and he was just friendly. Now, you got to understand, when I enter a party, like, I am ginormous. I mean, look at how big my hands are. I wear a ginormous cowboy hat. Normally, I roll with Tom Brady. Brady, come here. Come here. Oh, come on. I'm going to hold you. Come on, off. Come on. Come on. Come on, up. Come on, up. Come here. Come on, I'm going to hold you. Brady, come on, off. Brady does not want to be involved right now. We're going to go without him, which is what I did to the MainShares party. Went without him, met great people, and knowledge activated some great shiitake, which is specifically search fund, being a search entrepreneur. A search fund is where you take money, you raise a fund, and then with that fund, you go buy a business. And MainShares, they slightly changed their business model is buying a small business using SBA as a basis, and then doing financing for the last 20, 30, 15%. Which still leaves you short because Irv Grosbeck talks about in chapter 17 of his book, To Never Go Bankrupt, if you think your search fund needs to be $200 million because you're buying a $190 million business, go ahead and raise 240 because you're going to need that working capital, and you're a retard. You're a retard consultant looking from outside the business that you think you understand the business and you don't understand the business. Right on cue, Evan talks about this book, Unreasonable Expectations, Unreasonable Hospitality. Talks about being an athletic hospitality. And I read this book once because of Patrick Bet-David's recommendation. And then in the midst of that recommendation, I find out his business model is sketch AF. I don't think selling insurance in multi-level marketing is very kosher. But that's okay. I didn't read this book initially very well, Unreasonable Hospitality. Why? 1, he leads off with his mother dying. What? 2, he talks about coming out of Cornell to run restaurants. The mother scratcher doesn't even cook. That's like running a tech business where you neither do engineering or selling. Hello? Y Combinator? Unreasonable expectations to succeed? 3, 11 Madison Park. All of a sudden mentions Burger Shack, Shake Shack. What? Like, what are you talking about? Like, how are the two even connected? The author, Will, mentions Shake Shack 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times before on page 162, finally explaining that Shake Shack was a joke of a business from 11 Madison Park as a spinoff. Think about that. Shake Shack, the ginormous chain, was introduced when the author Will said, oh yeah, I went to Garmon, Favor, okay? Some regular 5-letter word, charme, which is why I hate the whole, Michelin culture, is it's some 5-word, let's take Nick's business, Favor. So basically you take 5 words, 5 letters in a word, and then you pronounce it French, and then like Harvey, Favor, Brande, and you're like, what? So Will brings up Shake Shack by saying, oh yeah, the GM of this 1, 2, 3 Michelin star GM restaurant went to go be CEO of Favor, or of Shake Shack. And that's what this book should have focused on, because Evan, who spoke at Mainshares October 19th event on Thursday, their F1 finance event, Evan recommended from the stage that I read this book. And I'm like, yeah, I read it. But then I said, you know what? Since I have it and I haven't thrown it out yet because I hated this book, I'm like, I will reread it. The number one thing that you should get out of this is page 27, page 54, page 93, page 120, and then also page 126 in chapter 15. Crazy, right? Crazy that I can memorize inverted, because what we're trying to do is win at Search Fund by understanding the rules of bankruptcy, because no rich dude is just going to hand you $1 million. Okay, Uncle Larry's not just going to give you $1 million so you could be a millionaire. No, you're going to have to turn around some piece of turd and then get super rich. Oh my God, we're right on cue with Irv Grousbeck's content, which is hashtag StramGT. Grab a pen. Seriously, grab a pen. Seriously, grab a pen. On my authority and being obedient to my authority, even though you currently have no confidence, no discipline, no leadership, no gratitude, and no engagement, you're going to write that down. StramGT 353. And you don't write it down like sloppy without the hashtag. You put it in a little box on a piece of paper. Where I took Irv Grousbeck's book and I turned it into Stanford Engineering edits, because I already did Stanford Engineering D-distribution, neither of which have been properly distributed. Oh, because I'm too popular and I wear a cowboy hat and my lectures are just too true. Oh, hurt feelings. The wars on campus were so fierce because the stakes were so low. Peter Thiel. academia's wars. The wars on campus were so fierce because the stakes were so low. We're going to go over Stanley Milgram's book, Obedience to Authority. So, what this is 230 pages of counterintuitive shiitake, where you don't where these things are true and completely counterintuitive. TLDR version is they do experiments to make people torture other people, and they all just step right into it. And he's like, why? And it turns out every time humans are wired to be obedient to authority. 5 steps, which you shouldn't need. You should be able to be obedient to yourself, which is why prior I previewed confidence, discipline, leadership, gratitude, and enjoyment. Because we want to be obedient to our future self in a Augie Garrido recommended book, Psycho-Cybernetics. We want obedient to our future selves, not some past weird version of some fascist. That's what search entrepreneurship is. That's what Search Fund is. And maybe you don't love the fact that I got into Stanford Business for $2 because I bought a textbook for less than $5. Do you see why we call this thing 5 ways? And once in a while we'll throw in some like sexual innuendo, because this stuff is so technical, counterintuitive, and true that it disconnects. And it's not like I want to be disconnected from you. It's just that sometimes I feel people are disconnected, which is why we're doing this preview so that way you socially benefit. So last weekend was F1 Grand Prix weekend. The weekend before was ACL weekend 2. Great weekend. ACL weekend 1. Great weekend. And so next weekend is going to be Halloween weekend, and that's also going to be great. But then have you prepped it? You haven't. Just like you haven't prepped Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and January 20th for the national championship for football in Atlanta, where you can make money by front running. Think of me as your JD Rockefeller. Like, I'm your daddy, and I'm writing you letters, these long love letters. And that's what that book is letters from JD Rockefeller to his son. And we can study buddy 27 letters, that 32 letters, 39 letters. Oh, that's funny on 5 levels of funny. So the letters connect so deeply. Why? Because this is a rich dude mentoring his son to be rich. That's what this is. And this is in danger right now because 1, you can't sit in a room quietly. 2, you can't read 10 pages in a week. 3, you exercise never, and you can't get in 10 reps, okay? Do 10 push-ups per week initially, okay? Don't drop from 200 push-ups down to 10, but just get off the sofa and get to 5K, you fatty. Yeah, there's a book on that, Sofa to 5K. let's say you've never studied all 20 lectures prior to Stanford fall quarter. Okay. I mean, you're a lazy mother scratcher, but okay. Can you at least study ahead one lecture? Right? Just one lecture. That way, if your guys are on lecture 5, or actually you guys are on lecture 6 already. Oh my God. It's already late October. So you're on lecture 6 already. Just study ahead to last year's Engineering 145, lecture number 7 and 8. So that way when the professor of Stanford Engineering speaks to you and lectures with you in an interactive way, you can interact. That's cool, right? So now you're able to be a half a step ahead of all the other retards that got into Stanford because they play a sport, right? And now you're semi-competitive with the people who don't play a sport, didn't do extracurriculars, also had a perfect SAT and GPA. Okay, that person actually kind of doesn't exist because that person's a bad unicorn, but then you would be surpassing them because this would be like your 5th at bat, even though the game just started. You'd be Nico Horner. You'd be Tommy Edman. Like, who the F gets promoted to cleanup hitter and then starts cleaning up as a cleanup hitter and then wins NLDS VVIP? Or is it MVP? Or is it some other award where you're the best player because you previewed these things? Sean Manaea, he's got a funky delivery. And then what did he do? He just visualized and prepped. Tommy Edman via the PQRST method. It's not cheating, it's previewing. And so what we are going to do is you are going to put pen to paper. In fact, if you haven't grabbed a pen yet, don't even find paper, just hold the pen. Just grab it, just find a pen. Ladies, if you're blonde, thank you for already holding a pen and just being on the edge of your seat, okay? Headlights on, just focused on what I'm going to say next. Thank you. In fact, ladies, here you go. I'm going to give you something incredibly valuable. Pen to paper. 415-612-1737. My mentee, Tom Brady, he's single. You should text him. I was going to say don't be a gold digger, but you can be. Because just be a value-added gold digger. How about that? You're welcome. Did you write down that phone number? 415-612-1737. Him and Jimmy Butler said their phone numbers on ESPN. So if you say your phone number on ESPN, I'm going to text it. It works. Have you guys enjoyed time together? What do you guys want to talk about next? I've enjoyed my time. I feel like I'm learning things. In fact, the best consumer of your social media should be you. The most important writer and author in this universe, that's you. You journaling and then reading your journal to see the things that you learned and that you focus on. I think that's a good time to wrap. It was great saying hi to you. And then great re-meeting you, maybe for the first time, even though we've known each other a dozen years.